Hey, what's up YouTube and my scooter gang? Today we're working on the 85 Aero. I'm gonna throw some crank seals in it. We just did a Melosi top end, Delorto carb. It is the AF05. Hasn't been swapped or anything. Just a little project I've been tinkering with, making it a semi-naked scoot. But yeah, today we're going to do crank seals, so we're going to see how that goes. I got a new set of OEM Honda seals. We'll throw them in for you. Pull off this side cover first. Changing them out because I believe they're original. I've had it for 8 years and I've never changed them. I just recently put the new top end on it, so figured now's the time to make sure it's sealed up good. Don't want to lose any oil and I don't want it to run lean. Pull off the Variator now. Get the belt out of her way. And there. We're into our crank seal. So we're going to try, it's the first time doing it on a scooter, but I've done plenty of two-stroke dirt bikes. We're just going to try to get in behind it with a pick and pull it out at first. But before we do that, we want to measure to see how far this one is pressed in, because we want to make sure we push the new one in at the same depth. So we'll get out and measure that first. This one doesn't look like it's pressed in too far, maybe a millimeter or two. Yep, just a millimeter, that's it. So you want to make sure you don't scratch anything. If you are using a pick, you just want to get in under the lip, go inside, and just pull towards you. And hopefully they'll just pull right out. Go around it the whole way. See if we can get it to move. Tell you what, they're giving a fight. They are fighting. They don't want to come out. They're starting to move a little bit. Another thing I've done in the past, I've run screws, like just some simple drywall screws, into the seal. And grab one of them with a pair of pliers. Pull them out that way. And there it is. You see what you do to it, trying to get it out when you pull it out. But as long as you're careful, you don't scratch up the crank or the case. It don't matter what this guy looks like when it comes out. Mirror case looks good. Doesn't look like we touched it anywhere. Crank looks good. Yep, so we'll just clean it up right now. Just use a Q-tip and some brake cleaner. Now we'll just give it a little squirt of some penetrating oil. That'll help the new seal slide into place. Alright, next we just take some lube and fill up the valley of the new seal. That way it's not dry on the initial start. I also put some lube around the crank so the seal goes on easy. Slipped it right on. And when you're pressing this in, you need to make sure that it goes in straight. You don't want to put it in crooked. It's not going to seal. You're going to have issues of it leaking and running lean. So what I have is this 11/16 socket. And I'm just going to tap the seal right into place to the depth that I measured the old seal. Make sure that it's going in straight. Very important. Go slow, do it right. Alright, that looks about where the original one was. We'll measure it up here and see what we have. Yep, we got a millimeter on the bottom. And a millimeter on the top. Okay, now that we got all the grease cleaned up, we can go ahead and throw this back together. Squeeze our belt on some. That way it's ready. Drop the variator back into place. Set our belt on. Give it a good squeeze. That way you have plenty of room here to work with. That way you don't, when you tighten up the crank nut, that it doesn't chafe. And the washer and the nut. Give that a brat. Make sure the belt's loose. Yep, still is. drop our cover back on. Alright, that's it for the left side. Now let's work on the right side. Alright, this side, I need to get rid of this plastic cover first. So it looks like there's a 10mm bolt on the bottom. We're going to try to pull the cover off and leave the exhaust on. See if that'll work. Yep, that one's off. See if it comes off now. Or if we have to take the exhaust off. Yep, we're good. Alright, now we'll get rid of the fan. Now the flywheel. Flywheel you will need a puller for. I so happen to have one from working on other motorcycles and whatnot. What we'll do is we'll spin the larger portion in first. And when it touches, I just back it off a little bit, that way nothing grinds against each other. And we just spin in this part. We can hold this side here with a wrench. And then just hit the back side with an impact. There it pops it right off. Okay. This, and you can see, does have some leakage in there. It is dirty and greasy and grimy. So we'll definitely get in there and replace that one too. And replacing this side is going to be the same as the other side. Measure the depth, pull the old one out, push the new one in to the same depth, and then bolt everything back together the way we took it apart. And make sure you put the flywheel on right, because it is keyed. There's a key right there. So make sure you do put that together right. I'm not going to bore you with replacing the seal again, since you already see me doing the other side. But I'll bring you back whenever we're putting it all back together. Alright guys, back at it. We got the new seal in. It was pressed into the depth of 9mm. And that's 9mm on the engine case, not the stator. You'll see a lip in there where the engine case starts. So measure that and in, and it was 9mm. I mean, it's probably going to be close to the same or the same for the non-variated engines like the Spree and maybe the early Elites. But I don't know. If you're not sure, just look up an online manual or something, or if you have a manual, check in it. But now let's throw it back together. We can take our removal tool that we used out of our flywheel. Key is in place. We'll set the flywheel back on. and then we can bolt him down. Magnets are strong, so there we go. Just kind of wiggle jiggle it around. That way you're back in the keyed area. Give it a brap. Now for our fan and 2 bolts. They're just a 6mm bolt, so we'll give them a baby brap. Now we can drop our cover back on. Came off with the exhaust in place. Let's see if we can get it back on with the exhaust in place. There we go. Alright, then just 2 bolts to put it back on. I'll get these 2 bolts in. Next up, let's take it out and start it. Do a heat cycle. Alright guys, it's 20 degrees out here today, but we got about a foot of snow coming tomorrow, so let's try to get a heat cycle out of it today, or 2, or maybe 3. Give this thing a few heat cycles. If you like my video on the crank seals, give me a like, subscribe if you want to see other fun stuff with it. Later.